Alright, so time to get some parts installed for the ZX-4RR. This is some of what we've had rolling in lately. We're going to have more parts coming to you, just waiting on development for them. So we got some Graves frame sliders. We have a DNA air filter, smog block-off plates that come from Graves, as well as some 90-degree valve stems for our tires. We got some GB Racing case covers. I put those on all of my bikes. And we have a windshield here from MRA. And so today what we're really going to be focusing on is getting these case covers on the bike, getting that windshield on the bike, comparing that to the stock one, showing the profile differences and what it'll look like on the bike as well. These others are going to have to wait. We got the frame sliders put on the bike, but the smog block off plates and the air filter, we're going to wait until we have exhaust set up for those, and then get the bike tuned and everything all together at once. And then for our wheels, these valve stems, we're going to wait till we make a tire change. We'll be throwing some Pirellis on it pretty soon, getting to the track. And so that's when those will be put on. So today, we're going to get these opened up and focus on this. Alright, I've really been looking forward to changing out this windscreen. That was one of the things I immediately noticed I needed. It is a smaller stature bike. I'm about 5'11", so for me, I'm sitting up above it. I'm catching a lot of wind. So this one should give us better protection, make it a little bit easier to tuck on those straights. And I'm excited to change that. So I'm gonna throw this helmet on, try to get like a little bit of a shot of what it looks like with this current setup. So if I tuck currently, even with my butt all the way back, this is what I'm sitting like. So even, I have a mirror over there and I can see that my head is just this big bump at the top of it. Hopefully that's coming across on camera too. Even with my chin down, my chin is on the tank, I'm still kind of getting a bump. And then anytime I'm riding and I'm sitting up, I'm getting a bunch of deflection just hitting me, a bunch of buffeting. It's just making my head move a lot.
Perfect.
So we're gonna remove these 6 bolts holding in the windscreen, and these are just gonna be 4mm Allen keys. So be nice and easy with these. You want to keep the little washer. There's a little clear nylon washer that's on each of them. Keep that, it'll help protect the paint work, since those are going directly onto the body. Alright, so here we have our OEM windscreen, and here we have our windscreen from MRA. And what I'm actually going to do first is I'm going to remove the piece that the windscreen screws into. And this is just going to be held in by little tabs on the side. So if we see here, it takes up about half of it. This is what covers all the wires that go into our TFT display screen. And so these tabs, I think you're just going to pop them out carefully. There we go. It's just same thing on the opposite side. And so that will free it up. And this is what your windscreen is actually going to be screwing into. This is what it's mounted on, and covers up the dash there on the bike. I'm going to remove our screws from the top. Here we have just rubber grommeted screws. This is really common for windscreens on all bike types, so you've probably seen this before. And before we install those over on the new windscreen, let's just compare them. So these are sitting side by side, and already you can see a clear difference on the profile there. This one is much taller. Look at it this way as well. You'll see that larger curvature here on the MRA windscreen. And so why did I go with the MRA windscreen? and that's because of the thickness. And usually I would get like a zero gravity. That's what I have on the Ninja 400 right now, and I've been through multiple zero gravity windscreens on multiple bikes. They crack so easily. Anything happens, you look at it wrong, it's gonna crack. You put one bolt on a little tight, it's gonna crack. Somebody comes over and smacks your butt while you're sitting on the bike, your windscreen just cracked when you have zero gravity. I like their windscreens, but they're just too sensitive for me. So I want to switch it up, go with MRA. It's a little bit thicker, stronger flex to it, so I think we'll have less of an issue. I like to get the clear so that I can still see through the windscreen really good whenever I'm riding, especially on track. I'll have a tinted visor. I don't need my windscreen to be tinted as well. So let's throw it on the bike. Okay, there we go. We put that backing plate on there, just clipping it to the sides, and we put the hardware at the top so that we can bolt in our windscreen. And so this is going to go behind your fairing, your front fairing here, so it's easy to start at the top and just slide it down from behind. So there we go. Just make sure your holes are lined up. And then go ahead and bolt it in. And like I said, just be careful with these bolts. They do not take much at all. If you over tighten them, you'll actually just crush that rubber on the other side, and it'll just pull it all the way through. I've seen people do that, just tighten down their windscreens and they just pull that rubber piece straight through. It doesn't take a whole lot of tightness to get this held in place. And then make sure you have those nylon washers. If yours were broken or you don't have any, they're really cheap. You can buy them wherever, Home Depot, Lowe's, any hardware store. You can just find nylon washers and throw on there. It'll help protect your paint, help keep your plastic from cracking. It'll crack that nylon before it would crack your fairings. Alright, I got them all on there. I'll just make sure my fairings look good, everything's lined up how I want, and then I will snug them down a bit. Not much. The last step for this one is you can apply this little band across the top of it to help prevent any cracking, anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on. I'll probably just do that off camera later. But I am going to hop on the bike now so we can see if that aerodynamics has changed to maybe get my helmet in there a little bit better. Alright. Oh yeah, now my head is completely within that tuck of the windscreen. I can see it in the mirror, my butt all the way back, chin down. Now I think I'm like perfectly in line with it. Much better. And I can see from my angle too that when I'm sitting up now, that wind is going to be a little higher. It's not going to be beating me up as bad, hopefully. Alright, so we got our GB Racing case covers here, and so this is going to go on all of your engine cases. I use this on all my bikes. These are great products. They material's really strong, so when your bike goes sliding, it will slide very well without interrupting things. Also, it won't just shatter the way case covers often do, and then you end up with oil everywhere. Big problems. Nice and thick material. I have stand and jumped up and down on one of these before, and they're just really strong, great material. So we're gonna have to pull the fairings off on this bike to be able to get them on and get to things like our clutch cover there, for example. This one's gonna be our clutch cover, and then these are gonna go on the two ends of the stator on one side, and then just another one here next to the clutch. And so just for example, I have them on all these bikes. You can see on the Ninja 400, it's been down on both sides, and those case covers have done great. The ZX-6R that I had before this, it did great in crashes. So you can see I have, where are we at? A frame slider there that's pretty tore up from this bike sliding. But those case covers just took a little bit of damage and protected the actual engine casing entirely, so we could just pick the bike up and keep riding. And I have this on every single one of my bikes, so my street bikes as well. Here you see it on the Z900 back there, and we have them on the MT-07. Other bikes that I've had and sold, same thing. It's, you know, you spend a couple $100, but it really protects it. Great protection in case you know, your day doesn't go as planned. So we're gonna go ahead and start stripping the bike down. We already had the fairing off of one side. We're gonna pull the fairing off of this side and then install these covers. We have our Graves frame sliders installed. This was a really easy installation. It's really just, they'll provide a new bolt to you to replace each of those engine mount bolts. So you'll want to do it just one side at a time. Pull out that engine mount bolt. I think that's a 14mm size. And then you'll just put it in with their slider. Great design. Looks beautiful on the bike. Really fits with the lines of the bike there. And I think we should still be able to reach the bolt in here to remove our fairing. Especially if you have something with a rounded tip, you can kind of get it from a different angle if it's not direct.
Perfect.
So for most of these covers, it's only going to use certain bolts that you're going to replace, and you're going to want to use the bolts that they send in the kit. They send good quality bolts with it, and it'll make it a little bit longer, for example, so they can make up for this extra space that's on the case cover itself. And so in this case, we have 4 bolts that we're going to replace for this clutch cover. The torque spec for these is really low. It's just like 8 foot-pounds, so I'm just going to do it by hand. But if you want to use a torque wrench, that's always a great idea. I always recommend using one. And so I'm going to go ahead and just pull out these bolts that we need out. So these are all going to be 8mm for all your case cover bolts. You do need to pay attention on some bikes. You might have bolts that are longer than others in certain positions, certain parts. In this one, it looks like they're all the same length, so I don't have to worry about that. But on some bikes, that is an issue. So there, I got those all kind of loosened up. And I don't use any Loctite on these. Yeah, see, handle for these would be even quicker. Alright, got those bolts out. I'm just gonna line this up, make sure it's all in position good. Watch things like you have your sight glass fitting right, you got your oil filler cap in the right place, and then these should still be another 8mm. So I'm just gonna do it a little bit, and then I'm gonna sequentially tighten them down to make sure it is flush. Remember, we're using the provided bolts now. I don't know if you can see a difference. So the bolts that come from GB are going to have a little bit of extension to them. They're going to be a little bit longer for a spacer where they're going through that case cover. And you just want to make sure that it goes in smooth. You don't want to cross thread any of these, especially going directly into that engine. You don't want anything cross threaded. You don't want to mess up any of that threading. Just nice and easy. If you're ever working on your bike and something seems like it's forced, that is a bad sign, and you should probably just back things off, start over, reevaluate. Why is this so difficult? Alright, so I'm just getting those all in there, and then I'm going to give it just a little bit of twist here. Should not go very tight at all. Remember, it's only 8 foot-pounds in there. One cover on, now we're gonna do this one next to it. This one uses 3 bolts that GB provides, and they are all the same size as well. So let me open this up real quick. This one did have Loctite on it up on top.
Perfect.
I'll tell you what, since that one did have Loctite on it from the factory, I'm gonna go ahead and throw some Loctite on mine as well. Here we are. You want to do the clutch cover first because this one does have a ridge that sits right on top of your clutch cover. So when you have this one installed, this ridge is gonna sit on top of the edge of your clutch cover. So definitely install the clutch cover first. So I want this aluminum piece sandwich behind it. Yeah, I think so. And we already had the fairing taken off here. Same process as the opposite side. And we're gonna put this stator cover on. So the stator cover is gonna go on like that. All right, everybody, that should do it for today. Fresh windscreen, some case covers, some wind protection, engine protection, and hopefully soon we'll have more parts coming. I'm talking to the developers. We need more parts out here. Let's go. I want to get this bike tuned. I'm going to plan on tuning it myself, I think. That's the route I'm going to go. Rather than sending off my ECU, I want to be able to make certain changes in the future. And so currently the 2 platforms to be able to do that are going to be either through Woolwich or through FT ECU. And FT ECU hasn't released their product yet. I'm kind of holding out for that. But I'm also eager at the same time. So we'll see what I decide to do. I'll definitely be sharing along the way, but I think I do want that option to be able to tune things myself. Otherwise, I'm just waiting on development, waiting for the exhaust release, waiting for more parts to be released. Get some more track goodies on here, get it out to the track soon, get some tires on it, and rip it up. So everybody, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.